Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to part 4 of the Spark of Insanity, the dangers of complex fluorescent lamps. I left you with a little bit of a cliffhanger here discussing lamp re-rating. This is something very important. Most people don't know that the life of an incandescent bulb can actually last over 1 trillion years. The concept is known as lamp re-rating. Essentially, you drop the voltage of an incandescent bulb below its design, which causes the bulb to actually not just use less watts due to less volts, but actually lowers its amp draw and unfortunately lowers the light output efficiency, or less lumens per watt. It also lowers the color temperature, the Kelvin color temperature. It will be more of like a darker color light rather than the bright whites that we are used to with CFLs. It is common practice to use 130 volt lighting in restaurants so that the light bulbs do not need to be replaced as often. You can just go to any restaurant and look that up for yourself. The only reason why most lighting lasts 1,000 hours is because of an organization that was known as the Phobos Cartel. It was formed by the major lighting companies, and they would actually fine manufacturers for producing lights that were tested to last over 1,000 hours. They would actually engage in legal action to eliminate new manufacturers from the market. Several lamps made previously to the cartel, actually have lasted over 100 years, and several are still functioning today. You can go to centennialbulb.org to see a live video of a bulb functioning in Livermore, California, in all places an actual fire department. This is the lamp re-rating formula. This is it zoomed up so you can do a little bit of experiments for yourself. And this is it from a PDF article if you don't believe Wikipedia. The Phobos Cartel is something interesting to read up on. And this is an actual photograph of the Livermore light bulb that's been functioning now for over 100 years. Conditions in China. The manufacturer quality of China is limited and is pressed in a race to the bottom to limit cost. The laws in China actually do not regulate the products and standards for materials that they're sending out as exports. Regardless of what China has made, the harm to the people in the factories is great. Not just sweatshop labor, but the insane amount of mercury poisoning that has damaged the people on the planet. It says here, most CFLs are manufactured in China. Some factories are high-tech, others are more like sweatshops. Mercury testing has been carried out on 100 employees producing CFLs, and a survey of 18 factories near Shanghai showed that exposure levels to mercury were higher for workers making the new CFLs than other lights containing mercury. According to a report, the Nangfang Daily newspaper, the test of a single factory found 68 out of 72 workers were so badly poisoned they actually required hospitalization. A specialist medical journal published by the Health Ministry describes another complex fluorescent light bulb factory in Jinzhou in central China, where 121 out of 123 employees had excessive mercury levels. One man's level was 150 times the accepted standard. The same journal identified a complex fluorescent light bulb factory in Anyang, eastern China, where 35% of workers suffered mercury poisoning, and the industrial discharge containing the toxin actually went right into their water supply. 8,000 miles of smog. With almost all lamps sourced from China, they have to travel about 8,000 miles to get to the U.S. and thus need to utilize large cargo ships. Just 16 now of these cargo ships produce the same amount of pollution as all the cars on the earth. CFLs not only pollute before you place them in your home, but they actually don't help you save money in your electric bill, as 90% of your electricity is actually due to appliances, not due to lighting. This is one of the various articles that quoted that 16-ship figure. These articles were no way related to CFLs. They were just an interesting piece of information people thought was necessary to share. More bang for the buck. Some people have actually purchased a dozen of 2,000-hour 100-watt incandescent bulbs at a price of only about $1.20 or 10 cents a piece. Essentially 24,000 hours of light. Well, many CFLs still cost over $3 for a single bulb and can't even, produce 5,000 hours of light. And not to mention, most of those bulbs you're buying are actually paid for with your taxpayer dollars via subsidies. Now, if one wants to make a lamp last even longer, like an incandescent bulb, all you need to do is use some reusable items like a diode or a thermal resistor at the base of the incandescent bulb. Those will actually help increase the life. Common sense, people. Look at this photograph. I have an incandescent bulb placed as it would be in a normal socket. Now, all forms of light do produce some sort of heat. It's a byproduct. Now, the heat tends to rise. That's what heat does. It's less dense. As it rises directly into the electronic components of a CFL. The silent killer. CFLs are held responsible for damage and loss of homes, even human death due to fire and explosion hazards. CFLs are tested, and many are designed with the lighting element facing uncovered and pointing upward, like in a lab environment. Yet most applications of the lamps actually have the element facing downward, where heat collects after rising into the electronic components. With the information shared on how production is flimsy, and many CFLs and also personal statements shared by Mr. Hawaii, no wonder there has been so many issues. The next couple slides will document tragedies. December 23, 2010, a complex fluorescent light on the ceiling burst and started a fire in a home in Harnell, New York, December 23, 2010. Those are the lights everyone's been telling us to use, said Joe Agurich of Steuben County. He was the fire inspector. It blew up like a bomb. It splattered all over. Fire Chief Mike Robbins said the blaze destroyed the room where the fire started and everything in it. The rest of the house suffered smoke and water damage. The Arkport Village Fire Department, as well as the North Hornell Fire Department, required 15 minutes to put out the fire. This is an actual photograph of some of the damage, and this is an article you can look up for yourself. May 21st, 2010. The bulb explodes without warning, reported NBC Action News. May 21st, 2010. Tom and Nancy Heim were watching TV recently when Tom decided to turn on the floor lamp sitting next to his recliner. I heard this loud pop. I saw what I thought was smoke coming out from the top of the floor lamp, says Tom. Nancy suddenly found glass in her lamp. She says, I did not see it, I just heard it, and I noticed I had glass on me. This is that article you can research for yourself. As you can see, it says CFL light bulb risks. February 12, 2011. On February 23, 2011, TV Action News Channel 5 in Tennessee covered a newly released investigators report that blames a February 12th fatal fire in Gallatin on one of those CFL bulbs. Ben Rose, an attorney for the rehabilitative facility in which Douglas Johnson, 45, perished, said, "This result is consistent with our own private investigation. We have heard reports of similar fires being initiated by CFLs across this country." This is an article that discussed that event. February 15th, 2010. On February 15th, 2010, a TV station reported a fire in Hinsdale, Illinois from a CFL plug to a dimmer. Channel 2 CBS reporter Ann State said that the producer of the news program tried to find a CFL that could be used with dimmers, but discovered that they were very hard to find and cost more. April 30th, 2008. On April 30th, 2008, the Cumberland Times News reported that Rick Jenkins' family had lost everything in a fire caused by a CFL connected to a dimmer switch. Many types of CFLs include package warnings that basically say you're not supposed to connect them to dimmer switches. I don't read light bulbs, said Jenkins. I didn't think I'd ever have to. It just goes to show you that, you got to be careful and read everything that you buy. This is a report that simply just said, Blaze underscores the need for CFL bulb education. Various reports. There's so many reports about problems with CFLs. This one says that only after 6 months of use, the bulb started making funny noises and flickering, finally exploded on my kitchen table. It says here a bulb in a half bedroom caught fire. The bulb snapped and glowed very brightly, then caught on fire. The bulb was supposed to last 5 years, but it only lasted about a year or so. I tried replacing it with a GE 26-watt bulb, and the same thing happened immediately. My 80-year-old mother turned on her reading lamp, and the bulb exploded, and the lamp shade caught fire. She unplugged the lamp from the wall, and the fire went out, thank God. I turned on an overhead bathroom light bulb, heard a pop. It exploded, falling into the bathroom sink. Nearly all the flying glass went straight down, so little damage was done. However, I was very thankful it didn't get in my eyes. More reports. We purchased a special 3-way light bulb this past year. Special 3-way CFLs cost more. Last night, the bulb started a fire in the lamp. If we had not been there, our house might have been burned down. I had a desk lamp CFL burn right up in front of me. I switched it on and tiny sparks were emanating like a Van de Graaff generator. Quickly I switched it off. Plastic around the ballast was cracked and smoking. Photographic evidence. Below, which this was actually a capture from an article I copied and pasted in here, but it said below is a picture of the CFL light bulb from my bathroom. I turned it on the other day and then smelled smoke after a few minutes. 4-inch flames were spewing out from the side of the ballast like a blowtorch. I immediately turned off the lights, but I'm sure it would have caused a fire if I had not been right there. I imagine if the kids had left the lights on unusual when they were not in the room. I took the bulb to the fire department to report the incident. The fireman wasn't at all surprised and said that this was an uncommon occurrence. Apparently, sometimes when the bulb burns out, there's a chance that the ballast can start a fire. He told me that the fire marshal had issued reports about the dangers of these bulbs. This is a photograph of that bulb the gentleman had. Recalls. Due to the massive amount of CFL failures and potential for casualties, various CFLs have been recalled. All right. Some recalls have been recent, but not all are actually done by no-name brands. Some of these are actually pretty reputable companies. This is just one which actually had here, once again, a fluorescent light bulb recalled due to fire hazard. Now, stupid subsidies. Essentially, there are many states out there that subsidize CFL purchases with your tax dollars. Now, you pay. Essentially, what they do is they pay part of the price when you go to a retailer, so you see a lower price on the shelf. Essentially, as you've seen, government is subsidized the pollution of the planet and the death of its people through these CFLs. It's almost like if they were the anti-human race. This is the Connecticut Energy Efficiency Board, which actually subsidizes CFL sales in the state of Connecticut. Problems with subsidies. In the development of the automobile, there was a long-standing belief in data that was actually backing up that the most efficient and reliable powered cars were those that were propelled by propellers. As time went on, the problems and fallacies with such designs became known. But here's the thing. When government subsidizes the technology by bankrolling it, what actually happens is that the government chooses the winner in it doesn't just actually choose the winner in technology, but actually chooses all the losers. All the potentially amazing technologies that could have been developed do not go on further because they do not have unlimited funds to compete with the subsidized businesses. Currently, one could find plenty of better lighting and technology, such as non-toxic versions of LEDs, and even the historical, reliable incandescent. This is just a photograph of a car from the 1930s that used a propeller for transportation. It had a much more simplistic drivetrain, and according to reports, due to the simplicity and lightweight of the vehicle, how lightweight the vehicle was, it should actually be getting better mileage. What to do? Stop buying CFLs. Treat them as hazardous waste that they actually are. Call your representatives and senators and tell them that you are an American and should have the right to buy any light that you want to. Tell them that they should end the use of your tax dollars on these on subsidies for these toxic products. Contact your state agencies and tell them that the subsidies need to end. Tell the American corporations that you want the United States to start building non-toxic lighting just like we had a few years ago. That essentially is the end of this presentation. I hope that you can look up some of the information on your own and make your own good decisions. I honestly am not a fan of the complex fluorescent lamp. I do not use CFLs. I try to avoid them as much as possible. The incandescent is actually a pretty interesting piece of technology. Anything that uses a filament is a pretty reliable, simplistic piece of technology. And I'm also a fan of LEDs, light-emitting diodes. I like those technologies. I'm not a fan of the CFL. Take care for now, folks.